Yeah, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. I welcome you all. And we are very happy to have Maharaj on the call, and we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam series of second canto, third chapter, and we are at the end of the chapter today, that is pure devotional service, and verse number 25. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time and association. I'll share my screen again. Yeah. Let's go. Yes, Maharaj. You can please take over.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevayam. Atabide Yangamano Nukulam. Vabhasase Bhagavata Pradanaha. Yat aha vaya sakir atma vidya visarado nirpatim saru pristaha. Translation. O Sutta Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Sukadeva Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Maharaj Pariksit upon being asked. Purport. Knowledge explained by the previous Acharya like Sukadeva Goswami and followed by the next like Sutta Goswami is always powerful transcendental knowledge. Is therefore penetrating and useful to all submissive students. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pure Devotional Service, the change in heart. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains Evam Parampara Praptir Evam Rajasayor Vidu. That one must receive this knowledge coming from Krishna in disciplic succession. Parampara. Parampara means chain of acharyas going back to Krishna. Then the knowledge is pure. Then the knowledge is without alteration. And in order to practice devotional service effectively, progressively, one must receive the knowledge from a pure soul who is receiving it in the chain of pure acharyas. One cannot create transcendental knowledge. One cannot speculate. This is very common today's life, that someone comes up with another process of spiritual practice, considers themselves some acharya, cheats people with very expert word jugglery, and people become fooled, because in this age people don't know what is real knowledge and what is not real knowledge. Therefore, if one makes a nice presentation externally, people have a tendency to accept it, although it is not bona fide. And there's many cheaters. Therefore, Krishna says this knowledge has to come in disciplic succession. The guru has a guru, who has a guru, who has a guru, all the way back to Krishna. Krishna is called Adi Guru. He is the source of all transcendental knowledge. And there are those who are parampara acharyas, just like in our parampara. There are 4 bona fide paramparas. One is called Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya. And that is Lord Brahma. Madhvacharya is also mentioned in there. And then Gaudiya refers to Lord Chaitanya. So that's the disciplic succession that we follow as the ISKCON society. And that goes all the way back to Krishna with from Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj to Bhakti Vinod Thakur to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, all the way back to even before Krishna Das, Narottam Das Thakur. There's a whole series of bona fide acharyas who are getting their knowledge in a pure way from the pure sampradaya. If you want, just like if you have a mango that's on the very top of the tree, if you want to get the mango down, you may shake the tree, but then the mango might bounce on the branches and maybe even hit the ground, and therefore it becomes no longer the quality of the mango anymore. But if someone goes up and climbs the tree and grabs the mango from the branch, and someone below him takes it, and then all the way down, then the mango stays in pure. You get the very sweet, juicy, tasty mango. So in the same way, knowledge has to be given by the acharyas in disciplic succession. And in today's world, there are 4 bona fide disciplic successions. We mentioned one, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya. There's Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. That is the Rudra Sampradaya, which is the Acharya is Vishnu Swami. You have the Sri Sampradaya, the Acharya is Ramanuja Acharya. And you have the 4 Kumara Sampradaya, and then you have the Sampradaya Acharya is Nimbarka. If you come to Mayapur and you go to the Chaitanya Mat, you'll see these 4 acharyas, they have their deities are represented in the temple of the Gaudiya Math. So outside of these 4 sampradayas, one cannot get pure devotional service. And of course, in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Brahma from Lord Brahma, we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. He is not the Sampradaya Acharya. The Sampradaya Acharya in the Brahma is Lord Brahma. He is the Sampradaya Acharya. The Lord Chaitanya is there. The Lord Chaitanya is teaching the process of pure devotional service in the mood of Sri Vrindavan Dham, where in Sri Sampradaya, they worship all the way up to Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayan. They talk about Krishna, but their emphasis is on Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan. Same with Madhva. Although Madhva is included in our Sampradaya, they generally worship Sitaram, which is, of course, Ramadi, Pramari Murti Sukalani Amena Tishtan, Nanavatara Makara Bhuvanesha Kinchu, Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamanyo, Govindamari Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. So Ram, he is the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Lord Narayan. And he is the highest manifestation within the Vaikuntha realm for transcendental knowledge and worship. And we worship Ram. But we emphasize our worship of Lord Chaitanya, who teaches us the path to Vrindavan, and the goal is Radha and Krishna in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So knowledge coming in these disciplic successions is pure, because each one of them has a lineage of charyas coming down. And this powerful transcendental knowledge, when it's given, and here Prabhupada mentions to submissive students, this is a quality that is required in order to receive the knowledge. The student has to be willing to accept what is given without challenge. When you don't know something and you're receiving it from a pure source, and you understand the source is pure, then intelligent persons will automatically accept it. But nowadays, even within the pure sampradayas, people question the knowledge coming down because they're not submissive. Only when one is submissive will they be able to assimilate this knowledge, because blocking the knowledge through challenging, one can ask questions if one has some misunderstanding or incomplete understanding or even no understanding. But one cannot simply challenge it and present something different or something alternative. And therefore, it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna takes out time in his explanations of the of the process of devotional service to explain the importance of approaching him through his bona fide spiritual master. Tadviti pratipatena paripasyena sevaya upadex gyanti tejana gyaninam tatvadarshanaha. In this particular verse, you'll see 3 points: pariprasyena, paripatena, and sevaya. Paripatena it connects with the idea of submissive. Paripatena means to fall flat, dandavats, obeisances, in front of the spiritual master, indicating one's submissive attitude and willing to learn. Pariprasyena means to ask questions based on the knowledge one receives, if there's need for further clarification, or to ask questions in general to gain more understanding and knowledge, both in knowing the absolute truth and in the practice of bhakti. And sevaya, without sevaya, all of this knowledge remains theoretical. That means one has to be willing to offer service. Because the whole process of bhakti is to serve the Lord by serving the Lord's representative, the spiritual master. Service is the inclination of the soul's existence. Whether we serve, if we do not serve in the spiritual realm, we are always serving in the material realm. We cannot get away from service. We serve our friends, we serve our family members, we serve our boss, we serve the politicians, we serve the scientists. In other words, we're serving something. And as Prabhupada would sometimes say, even if you're not serving any of these, You keep a dog or a cat or some pet and you're serving that pet. And even if you're not doing that, you're still serving your mind, which is different than you. So one cannot get away from service, but there's a service that is not directed towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot gain one any benefit in achieving the goal of life. So one has to serve the spiritual master one has to serve the Lord by serving the spiritual master, and one has to serve the devotees of the Lord who are in line with Krishna in devotional service. The service has to be there. It's not optional. Those who don't want to do any service but simply want to read books, they're jnanis. Simply those who take up service and want to get some money in return for their service, there are karmis. Not karmis, but they're karma yogis. They're doing some service for the society or for their, in some way, they're doing some devotional service, but they want money in return. That is karma yoga. People think that, well, I need money in order to live, so better instead of going out and getting a job, I can serve in the spiritual realm and take care of my material needs also. Yeah, but it's not bhakti, it's karma yoga because because bhakti is explained by Rupa Goswami, Agyamila Sita Sunya Jnana Kamadana Anukulena Krishna Silanam Bhakti Uttama. Bhakti has to be free from any desire for gain, personal gain, or speculation on the absolute truth. Has to be for Krishna with a desire for Krishna. Again, this is emphasized in the first canto, second chapter, where it says, Savai Pum Samparo Dharma, Yato Bhakti Ahoksaje, Ohoi Tukiya Priyata, Yayatma Suprasidati. Only that service that is unmotivated and uninterrupted can satisfy the soul. Otherwise, there is some gain, but not satisfaction, and one cannot reach the goal of pure devotional service if there's motivation. In any sense, service has to be done simply for the pleasure of the Lord, with a desire to please the Lord, and under the direction of the spiritual master, and not for any personal gain, either pecuniary or any kind of gain. Any kind of gain. And that's called karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti. Mishra means mixed. It's mixed devotional service. It's not pure. But the soul's nature is nitya siddha Krishna prema sadhu kabunoi, shravanadi siddhi chitte koryo yodoi. In the hearts of all living entities, pure devotional service is the nature of the soul's existence. We can only be fully satisfied in our relationship with the Supreme when we reach the stage of pure devotional service, because we are pure by nature. Although covered by the material energy, and that purity is obscured or forgotten, still the purity is not lost, it remains hidden. And only when the living entity comes to that stage of serving the Lord without any personal motivation and only for the pleasure of the Lord, can one reach perfection in devotional service. Otherwise, there's different gradations of attainment, but not pure devotional service. And therefore, one will have to, again, come back in another life to finish up whatever they didn't finish in the present life. So therefore, but here the qualifications are mentioned. One has to be submissive. One has to ask questions based on getting clarification. I mean, if everything's clear, there's no need for questions, then carry out the activity. And ultimately, one has to serve according to the directions of Krishna given to by the spiritual master. It's just here we have a one-line purport, but it's very powerful. Very powerful. It's right to the point. That knowledge has to come from the pure source and it has to be accepted in a pure way and carried out in a pure activity. And then whenever all of that's in line, then that knowledge becomes realized because transcendental knowledge is part of the soul's existence. The soul is Sat Chit Ananda. The soul is eternal, never was born, never dies. Chit means full of knowledge, not the knowledge you receive from the secular society. That's not knowledge. That's called Silpa Vidya. That means external knowledge or material knowledge. And then there is Ananda, or not happiness, but transcendental bliss that comes through the process of serving the Lord in devotion. So one has to align themselves with the nature of one's existence, which is the soul. And by reading transcendental knowledge, hearing transcendental knowledge, both hearing and reading are both forms of hearing, and understanding, and then carrying it out, one gets realization. Through realization, one develops the qualities and the understanding of the nature of the knowledge they receive. And knowledge becomes part of them and not something external. When theoretical knowledge is called, it's called Vigyan, that knowledge, which is, it's called Gyan. It's called Gyan. That knowledge that is theoretical, we accept that it's true, but we haven't understood it yet completely. Some understanding may be there. Theory. But then when it's Vigyan, then it's intensification. V means Vishishta, or intensification of that knowledge, which means realized knowledge. And Vigyan means that knowledge which one realizes the knowledge that they are. And it becomes just like when you talk about using the example of eating. If somebody explains to you what the food tastes like and who cooked it and what the ingredients are like that, and you may even read about it, you still don't get the benefit of it until you actually taste it. So once you taste it, then you can talk about it and you can explain to others what it's like and the experience you had. So the same with transcendental knowledge. It has to be practiced and is understood through this process of sampradaya knowledge, or coming from the line of disciplic succession. So the spiritual master has to be bona fide, and the student has to be also bona fide in submission. Just like accepting someone as a student, the spiritual master has to test that disciple just to see how sincere they are in their practice of spiritual life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami to write one book explaining all the activity rules and regulations of devotional service, particularly for grihastas. Not exclusively, but particularly for grihastas. That's called Hari Bhakti. It's called, I'm sorry, what is it called? Slipped my mind now.
Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Yeah, Hari Bhakti Vilas. Yeah, thank you. Hari Bhakti Vilas. And in there, it says that there is called mutual testing. When the disciple comes to the spiritual master and wants to take shelter, they're accepted, but then there's a year of what is called mutual testing. The spiritual master observes the disciple to see if that person is serious and is practicing properly. And the student also sees whether that person they have taken shelter of is the person that they want to surrender to completely. So it's a testing period. It's called, we call it, what do we call it? Aspiring disciples. When you aspire for a spiritual master, it doesn't mean you can't pull back and then change your mind and aspire for someone else. Sometimes devotees get stuck like that. Well, I aspired for this spiritual master, but I'm really looking towards this other one, and therefore I don't know what to do. No, aspiring is not a contract that has been binding yet. Only when the initiation comes, then the contract becomes binding. Prior to that, it's getting to know each other according to qualifications and surrender, like that. So that's all of this knowledge is given in a certain way. Therefore, one should take this knowledge as it's presented and not try to create some new ideas or some new process. So when the spiritual master says, this is the way it is, one should accept it. And if they're not sure, they may ask questions about it, or they shouldn't think, well, yeah, well, that was when sometimes people say, like, well, when Prabhupada was here in the 1970s, it was like that, but now we're in, 2020s, and it's not like that. No, transcendental knowledge is not subject to time. The application may slightly be adjusted according to time, place, and candidate, but the knowledge in its essence is always eternal, cannot be changed. Sometimes we use the example when the acharyas change things in order to preach Krishna consciousness. We say old wine in new bottles. The tendency is for the conditioned soul to want something different, something new. So, and times change also. So what worked 1,000 years ago may not work again, but the same knowledge is just being re-given in a slightly different medium, but the knowledge is the same. The knowledge is the same. Just like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he asked his disciples to chant 64 rounds a day. When Prabhupada began the movement, he also asked us, the new devotees, in the early days to chant 64 rounds. But the devotees weren't able to accept that and questioned Prabhupada. And Prabhupada actually made some adjustment, seeing because of Kali Yuga, because of the lack of qualifications of many of his disciples, he reduced it to 16 rounds. So the Acharya can do that. The Acharya can do that. So, but the point is, it's still chanting. It's not like we don't chant the Hare Krishna mantra. No, the mantra is there. The amount of requirements may change from guru to guru, but the point is, chanting is still part of the eternal process of practice. So this is an example to understand how things may slightly change, but the essence is not changed, like that. The application may be slightly changed. If people identify with the application and think, oh, it's always changing, no, then that means they don't really understand what is being given. It's eternal, and the soul is eternal, and the soul's relationship with Krishna is eternal. So to serve Krishna is an eternal principle. How you serve Krishna may be adjusted according to time, place, and candidate. but still service to Krishna goes on. Okay, so these are some things you can think about.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class about disciplic succession and how the student should be submissive to spiritual master and to receive the transcendental knowledge, and how to preach according to the time circumstances, and about the, and according to the candidate. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Such a wonderful class once again. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. And please turn on your cameras if possible, wherever you are. Amritana Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Guru Maharaj, oftentimes it happens that we get opportunities of Sankirtan and we get the opportunities of service at the same time, devotional service. So I sometimes am in dilemma that what to choose, what to give priority to. So how can you prioritize or what to choose?
Well, you have to see what seems to be more important right now for your spiritual practice. And the process of bhakti means to make the student intelligent, where they can discriminate between, all right, I have this time now, I have a chance to go out on Harinam with the devotees, or I can stay back in the temple and do some service for the deity. So you may have that choice, and people choose like that. So
Okay, it depends on the situation or an individual.
yeah. But there should be enough emphasis on hearing and chanting. If we don't put enough emphasis on hearing and chanting, then the quality of our activities will somewhat become more and more mechanical, more and more like work, more and more like, well, things to do. So sufficient hearing and chanting has to be there in order to keep our consciousness connected with the ecstasy or the happiness in devotional service. Because it's sadhana, seva, sadhya. Sadhya means the goal. It's through sadhana, we practice hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. We worship the Lord in the temple. And seva means the practical application of our activities. Sometimes people like their seva more than they do sadhana. That's not a disqualification, but still one has to give sufficient amount of time for hearing and chanting. If one doesn't get, if one is just dragging through sadhana, can't wait till they get done with their sadhana so they can get some practical activity, then that means they're not really, their practical activity is more geared to their own personal liking as opposed to being a service to the Lord. You may like your service, that's nice, but if it becomes a personal thing and, all right, well, I got to chant, but, I can chant anytime. Let me just do this service. There should be a balance. Again, we mentioned sadhana, seva, sadhya. So that means no one's going to tell you every minute. You have to decide, and many times, what You want to put your time and energy in a specific term, in a specific situation.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Just a little follow-up of so I was hearing about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it so happened that Bhaktivinoda Thakur previously wanted to go for his bhajans in Vrindavan, and but then I think Lord Shiva, somewhere it is mentioned in his biography that Lord Shiva told him he should be preaching because that is the need. So and many times you have also mentioned that we are not bhajananandis, we are ghostanandis. So our preaching or service should be in the priority. So many times there's this dilemma for me. And then when I hear Andhra Prabhu, when he stresses more on the Sankirtan, so somewhere this question raised in.
Yes, well, if you tell a Pujari that Pujari is doing service all day, he's not doing it, he's not preaching enough. What will he say? He said, "This is my service. This is my spiritual master has given me this service. These are my responsibilities." And if he's doing his service nicely, that's preaching.
Yeah.
Because when people come and see the deity is pleased by the service of the Pujari. The deity exhibits his mercy more and more.
Mm.
The people paint the pictures and we put them on the walls. They're painters, they're artists, but that's preaching. If you're cleaning the floor of the temple, you're making the temple clean for devotees to come and be in a nice, pure atmosphere. That's preaching.
Thank you very much. Got it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Such a wonderful point. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Guru Maharaj. All glories to all of the Vaishnavas. Guru Maharaj, are there any guidelines on this topic of hearing? Are there any guidelines on how much we can or should hear from one's own spiritual master alongside hearing from, for example, other senior Vaishnavas or Maharajas?
You should hear enough, whereas you get to the point as you want to speak. You become full in hearing, then the next thing will be to want to share that knowledge, to speak it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, which leads to Smarnam. Smarnam's the goal. Now, if you're not enthusiastic or inclined to speak it, that means you should hear more and more.
Maharaj, should that hearing be from just your own spiritual master, or can it be from others as well?
Those in the same line of the spiritual master, yeah.
Okay.
Not from hearing someone who is outside the precepts of what the spiritual master is teaching. We stay within the society of ISKCON. We don't need to go outside. There's Prabhupada, and you have Prabhupada's representatives, the spiritual masters. You have Prabhupada's books. You have books written about Prabhupada's books by the spiritual masters. Why do you have to worry about going somewhere else? You don't even have enough time to take advantage of what you have.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Just I was concerned because I find that there's other Maharajas like Srila Prabhupada, disciple Maharajas, and many of them are very expert in specific areas, on speaking on specific areas, which is nice to learn about. And I just wanted to be checked that I was okay.
Yeah, that's good. And Prabhupada said we can also read the books of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That's within our sampradaya.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Particular Jaiva Dharma, Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Krishna Smarnam. These are all really powerful books on pure devotional service. Sri Devi.
Yes. Mataji. Sridevi Mataji, please go.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances or glories to Prabhupada. On this subject of Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and so on, Guru Maharaj, I want to know, you mentioned that outside these four sampradayas, one cannot get bhakti. But I remember when I went to Udupi and I saw, in fact, the Mathati Pati, the head of the Math, he had come. It was a special day or something. And after offering the lamp and everything, he performed many, many dandavats, prostrated obeisances, got up again, offered dandavats, and so on. But there was no chanting of the holy name. Now, bhakti, especially in Yuga Dharma, this is the age of Kali, and Yuga Dharma is the holy name. There was no, I don't know. Later on, they sang songs in Kannada glorifying the Lord, but there was no chanting of the holy name. So, has it become ritualistic, their worship? And if so, how is that bhakti? And why don't they chant the holy names then?
Well, you're talking about the Madhvites, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're in our sampradaya, Brahma Madhvas Gaudiya Sampradaya. They worship, they generally worship Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan, mostly Sitaram. Their emphasis is two. The Madhvas are very enthusiastic to destroy Mayavad and personalism. They actually go out and challenge the Mayavadis. And they're great debaters. The Madhvas are really, they know how to debate. They chant Ram's name. Or they may chant, there is the Vishnu, what is that? 1,000 names. Vishnu,
Sahasranam.
yes, Vishnu Sarasya, Sahasranam. So these are names of the Lord. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming and making the process direct. He's giving Krishna in Vrindavan through the chanting of the holy name. But still, they can reach pure devotional service. But what do they achieve? They achieve Vaikuntha. And they don't achieve Goloka Vrindavan, which is also perfection. Those who achieve Vaikuntha, those who achieve Vrindavan, both are perfection. But there's an extra element of sweetness in the area of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan.
Yes,
But just like Lord Chaitanya told Murari Gupta, he said, you should worship Krishna. You're worshiping Ram and you're very dedicated to Ram, but actually Krishna's pastimes are more sweeter than Ram's pastime. Murari was an associate of Lord Chaitanya. He took up the instruction and he tried, but he couldn't because he was so dedicated to Ram. And when Lord Chaitanya understood his mind, said, yeah, you're actually Hanuman. So he wrote on his forehead with a piece of sandalwood, Ramdas. And so we're not out to, bring people who are fixed in Vaikuntha worship to change them to Goloka worship. If they want, they can aspire for that. They can also achieve that. But they have to develop the mood of Lord Chaitanya in order to achieve that. Because no one can approach Radha and Krishna in this age without going through Lord Chaitanya. It's not possible.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
That's mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Mhm.
One
So
has,
because
yeah.
so
So
because
they'll achieve, those who are perfect there, they'll achieve. I just actually, I met one Madhvat. He came from Udupi. He came to the United States. He came to New Vrindavan, and he was there, and he was just talking Krishna's pastimes. That's all he was.
yeah, I'm also quite, I'm a little surprised why they don't chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because Madhvacharya did give that. And I remember hearing songs of Krishna right from my childhood, glorifying Krishna. Even in the Udupi Sri Krishna temple, Krishna is a little baby boy. So they put him to sleep, they wake him up, they sing different lullabies, at nighttime and all that. So it's very personal. But somehow, at least when I was there, I didn't.
Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaharam Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. You have problems with that?
No.
Okay.
How can I have problems with that, Guru Maharaj? I from childhood have heard Ram and Krishna. My father would always say, "Jag mein sundar hai do naam, bolo Ram, bolo Sham."
He's all right. He's doing good.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai Sri Ram.
Jai. Balakrishna Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to Vaishnavas everywhere. Guru Maharaj, as I'm practicing whatever I can, I find that I'm most attracted to stories of Krishna's interaction with devotees. This comes in two parts for me. One part is, he lifts the Govardhan and all that happens in Vrindavan. All that feels a little distant to me. However, I'm super excited and thrilled of more modern day stories of Krishna's interaction with devotees. So like there's the Goswamis carrying Krishna somewhere. He wants some salt. And the Goswami says, I don't know which Goswami this is. He says, I don't have salt. I'm a mendicant. What are you talking about? And then, so Krishna, Krishna,
that was Madan Mohan, yeah.
Okay. Right. So these are so thrilling and also seem a little more within reach. Like this is more modern day. So where can I hear more stories like this, Maharaj, of Krishna's loving interactions with devotees?
Well, you mentioned Madan Mohan is connected with Sanatan Goswami. So Krishnadas Kaviraj writes a lot about Sanatan about the six Goswamis and the service they did. That's in Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Chaitanya Bhagavat. Okay.
Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Chaitanya Mangala. All connected with Lord Chaitanya, because the six Goswamis are the predecessor acharyas of Lord Chaitanya. They're carrying out Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So yeah, anything connected with Lord Chaitanya, you'll find those same pastimes about the Goswamis. Have you read Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Not yet, Maharaj.
There you go.
Yeah. So there's so little time and so much to do. Like, so I've had about a year and a little more than a year. So I finished. I'm doing the Bhakti Shastri. So I did Nectar of Instruction, Bhagavad Gita, and everything. And then I unfortunately jumped to the Bhagavatam, which is very long. So I need to stop and maybe go back to some of these smaller books.
Yeah, well, there's one, the lives of the three acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Shamananda Pandit. And this followed Lord Chaitanya just after he left. So there's a whole series of, there's one author called Jagadananda Pandit who's written a book about many of the activities of the Goswamis. Rupa Goswami's activities are also mentioned. Jiva Goswami. You want to read the Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami? That's a lifetime worth of study, just those Sandarbhas. I mean, but I would recommend you read Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Okay. Yeah, I'm quickly realizing that I have to switch because the Bhagavatam is endless. It's like, I mean, it's just going to take a while.
Read them side by side.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, a few verses here, a few verses there, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because they actually complement each other. Both are transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One is about Krishna and his incarnations. The other one is about Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna.
Yes. And the other problem with reading is usually I'm very good at reading, but it's like when you used to consume normal, mundane fiction, then you read it and it's for thrills. This is not like that. After you read, sometimes you have to put it down and think about it. So that slows me down.
Yeah, don't read mundane fiction because
No, that's all gone, Maharaj. That was my previous life. Yeah, year and a half ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're working on you.
Yes. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
You're taking the medicine. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for not giving up on us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Maharaj, I have a question. Like today's daily drops nectar, after a long time we received, and it's a wonderful instruction from you to all of us. And so regarding the preaching, I have a question. So being in the female body, I feel that sometimes we don't get much opportunities to preach in temples or or anywhere else. So is it, I just want to clarify with you, instead of simply waiting for an opportunity, can we create our own opportunities?
Yeah.
And
It's better when the ladies get together as a group, 2, 3 or more, and then start preaching. They can become very effective.
yes, Maharaj. I noticed one thing, like when a preacher is a woman preacher, then everyone gets connected, and they ask so many questions, and also the ladies easily get connected to the preacher and the subject which they were teaching. So that's my observation.
Yeah. Prabhupada had many of his female disciples were preaching. Kaushalya was preaching. Jamuna was preaching. What's her name? Jadharani. She's still, she's preaching. And we have, what's her name? Urmila, she's preaching. There's many. Narayani, the acharyas, the gurus in our movement go to Narayani to get information. I mean, Narayani is like, she's amazing. I just met her in Vrindavan when I was there a couple of weeks ago. She's an ocean of knowledge. She can answer any question on anything in the Shastra.
Yeah.
Women have better memories than men. That's a fact.
My wife remembers every mistake I made, Maharaj.
Yeah. The reason why the women have better memories is that they are more connected to the emotion. And when you connect a thought to an emotion, there's an imprint on the mind that's stronger. Men just don't care about remembering anything. They remember what they want to remember and forget. You have to ask your wife what you did so many years ago, and she'll tell you. Yeah, the fact.
Yes, Maharaj.
It says that in the Bhagavad Gita, that the qualities, the feminine qualities, one of them is memory. Another one is patience. So many. It's in the 18th chapter. The qualities of the feminine qualities are memory is one of them.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. Sridevi Mataji, you have a question?
Sorry. Yes, Guru Maharaj, I was thinking that once we come to bhakti, we understand that the goal is to satisfy and please Krishna. So we are not looking, oh, I went and did one arti in the temple. Come on, where's my 250 rupees? It's not like that. We don't look for pecuniary gain. We don't look for. But what about expectations of other devotees? Would that also be considered as looking for a form of gain? Like, I invest in a relationship with you, and then I want you to chant your rounds nicely. I want you to read nicely. I want you to, make progress in bhakti. And then, you find nobody's taken you seriously. Nobody cares what you said. They do their own thing. And then you start feeling, oh my God, what is this? So is that looking for gain when doing bhakti?
What is the question?
In bhakti, we are not looking for gain of any kind. We are not looking for money, and we're not
Right,
looking.
yeah, all right, I got it.
Okay.
So there's two aspects. One, when you give a general lecture to a group that's organized, some people will take it and some people will not. When you're dealing with people one-on-one, then it's more effective to get the message across. And if you're talking one-on-one and people are not interested in what you're talking, then don't waste time. But in a group, we speak in general for everyone. But to give another example, Prabhupada talks about his spiritual master. And when Bhakti Siddhanta would send out his preachers, and sometimes they would say, well, no one came to the class. Bhakti Siddhanta says, doesn't matter. Our business is to preach to the four walls. Mm-hmm. When it comes to these kind of forums, you can just preach. But if you're dealing with one-on-one and people are not interested, then don't waste time.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
You can try to make them interested, but up to a point when you realize they're just not And then you say, all right, well, go somewhere else. Find that same knowledge you're looking for. Maybe someone else can help you.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Such a wonderful topic. Maharaj, there are no more questions.
Okay.
Bonnie, Bhaktin Bonnie, she raised her hand. Yes, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams, where's the Srila Prabhupada? I wanted to say that I thought it was, when I first joined ISKCON Boston, it was very inspiring to me that Mother Chatumai was going on Harinam all the time, and she was leading the devotees very excitedly to go on Harinam, and she would sometimes be leading the kirtan or giving a lecture, and I didn't realize for the longest time that sometimes that didn't happen for people because I wasn't aware of it. And I'm glad that I had that experience, because later when people were talking about it, was kind of so depressing to hear that many people were uninspired because they didn't have an experience like that, and if I'd found out something like that right away, I might not have been inspired to come around so much myself. And but people can, like I thought it was so nice that you said that they can make their own opportunities, because I think that's what she did. And I think going on Harinam is the easiest thing you can access, because you don't need anybody's permission for it. What do you think of that? Is that okay for people to just like take up their own Harinam?
Yeah, it's the Yuga Dharma. It's the means for spreading the glories of the holy of Krishna through the chanting of the whole congregational chanting of the holy name. It's the most powerful form of spiritual practice. It's direct, and it purifies the atmosphere. So having Harinam, as you said, anybody can join and everyone can benefit. And even the people on the side who are hearing, even if they don't, accept it, still they're getting some benefit simply by hearing the holy name.
Also, you don't need permission. Like, you don't need to be invited. Like, to give a lecture in a temple, someone might need invitation, but you don't need an invitation to go do Harinam.
No, and you don't need an invitation to start a Harinam either.
Right. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that point up, Mataji. Even that was in my list since so long. I didn't start yet, but yeah, thank you for the encouragement, and thank you.
Okay, I do have to leave because I have another program coming up.
Okay, Maharaj. Yeah.
So anyway, well, tomorrow is Sunday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much.
Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Hari.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hari.
Dear devotees, if you want to chant, we can stay on and